Well, as you may know, I was basically fired from Apple when I was 30, and was invited to come back 12 years later. So that was difficult when it happened, but maybe the best thing that ever happened to me. There wouldn't be a Pixar if that hadn't happened. And so, you know, you move on, life goes on, and you learn from it.
You were fired from Apple when you were 30. Asked to come back when you were, what, 42?
Mm-hmm. Did
you think at that moment how sweet it is?
No, I thought at that moment, what a, you know, what a circle of life. You know, life is just always mysterious and surprising, and you never know what's around the next corner. So, you know, I think all of us need to be on guard against arrogance, which knocks at the door whenever you're successful.
Have you lived through that?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I'm working pretty hard, and so there are a lot of people, but I'm one of them. My car's there pretty early, and it's in the parking lot pretty late, and on weekends. So, and I value my family time a lot. So I'm pretty committed to this, and seeing Apple turn around. The company, I mean, I started the company with Steve Wozniak in my parents' garage, you know, 20 years ago, and over 22 years ago. And so there's a definite place in my heart for this. I'm drawing a salary of, I think, $1 per year. So I hope I'm not burdening the shareholders too much, and I very much want to see Apple get turned around, and I think it's gonna. So I don't know how much more committed I could be. If people need these symbols, well, maybe that'll happen, I don't know, but you know, my answer to them is I don't know how I could be working any harder. And I don't feel my job is to win a popularity contest right now. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel my job is to help the team at Apple do the right things to turn this company around so that it can really prosper again, and I think that's going to happen. And if some, you know, some people, I mean, the markets, we're talking markets now that are so large that there's, you know, someone or some group of people that aren't going to like just about anything we do. But my job's not to win a popularity contest. Well, I think it's what Apple stands for. You know, it's a very rare thing in this world when a company can really bring sort of the right and the left brain together and say, we're about doing, you know, the right things to make money in a successful business, but we also have the passion and the creativity and the inventiveness to push this industry forward and to work with our customers to take these tools in ways they've never been before to help them go change the world. And Apple has a history, a track record of doing just that. And I think that that's got a place in people's hearts. And I think Apple still has a lot of that, and we're going to get rid of a lot of the bramble and the brush around that so that can shine again. No, I think Apple has delivered some pretty good stuff. I think Apple's going to get back to delivering some great stuff. We don't predict our financials. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of things changing at Apple right now, and some are going to show up in the financials positively, some are going to show up in the financials negatively, and I think that we're going to get to a new trend, but that new trend will not become evident for another quarter or so. So I really don't think it helps to predict right now. I think we have a very clear target on where we're going in that regards, and we think profitability is very, very important. What I said was that we examined the future product roadmap, not the products that are shipping today, the future ones that we were working on. And what we found was that 30% of them were incredibly good. And about 70% of them were either pretty good or things that we didn't really need to be doing, businesses we really didn't need to be in. And so we've pared a lot of that back so we could focus the same amount of original resource even more on what was remaining and add a few new things in. So the resources that we're investing are equal or greater than we have been, but it's on fewer things, so we're going to do a better job at them, I think. There are not going to be any corporate massive layoffs. What we're doing is we have, I think, a pretty clear direction now, and each group is looking at the work plans to do what they need to do to accomplish the pieces of that they have to do. And we are reorganizing some things a little bit differently, combining things in a few different ways. And in some cases, when the music stops, there'll be some people that don't have a chair. But that'll be on a department-by-department basis. It'll be, you know, a fairly low-key thing. We're not talking about any massive layoffs. Somebody taught me a long time ago a very valuable lesson, which is if you do the right things on the top line, the bottom line will follow. And what they meant by that was, if you get the right strategy, if you have the right people, and if you have the right culture at your company, you'll do the right products, you'll do the right marketing, you'll do the right things logistically and in manufacturing and in distribution. And if you do all those things right, the bottom line will follow. So yes, we have obviously plans about where we'd like to see the bottom line, but we are focusing most of our energy not on financial re-engineering, because that's not what's been troubled at Apple. We're focusing our energy on the right product strategies, the right market strategies, the right communication strategies, the right logistics and distribution strategies. And the team is making, I think, very strong strides in these areas. And you'll start to see some of this stuff appear, in the next 90, 120 days. So I'm actually really happy about this.
Think different is easy to say. I mean, it's just 2 words. It's easy to say, but much harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a company of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
How do you permeate the message throughout all the employees? What do you say to them?
Well, you permeate it by example, ultimately. And in other words, when something's not quite good enough, do you stop and make it better, or do you just ship it? And everybody watches to see how the senior management makes those decisions. And what we've tried to do is stop and make it great before we ship it. When we have problems, stop and fix them. And by example, you can say anything you want, but everybody watches very carefully when you're in a difficult situation, what decisions you make, what values you have.
How do you see yourself 10 years from now?
My headlights are not that good. I don't know. I don't really think about it. I think about a year, 2, 3 down the road. We have some projects at Apple that are sort of maybe 4 years down the road, 5 years, probably like 3 or 4 at the most, because things change too much. You can be going down a path, you say, well, in 5 years I want to be here, but then something new happens, and you just say, forget that, I want to be over there. So most of this 5-year planning that I've seen in my life, some of it's essential, but most of it changes too quickly. So we tend to look 3, 4 years. It's about as far ahead as we can see. We see at Apple, one of the things we've always felt is that we want to stand at the intersection of technology and humanities. We want to bring the humanist element into these tools and not have them just serve our intellectual side, but have them serve some other sides of us as well. And so that's I think, what we do particularly well. The whole computer industry wants to forget about the humanist side and just focus on the technology. And a lot of our industry focuses just on more is better, more megahertz and megabytes and speeds and feeds, we call it. But we think there's a whole other side to the coin, which is, what do you do with these things? Can we do more than just spreadsheets and word processors? Can we help you express yourself in richer ways, in your music, in your movies, in your photography, and these kinds of things that people want to do?